I'm Cristina Garcia Frasco, the Secretary of the Department of Tourism. We have just concluded a cabinet meeting with President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., together with our fellow cabinet secretaries. And at this meeting, the matter of the mask mandate policy of the Philippines was discussed. As you are aware, the President has already issued an executive order to make outdoor mask wearing voluntary all over the Philippines with certain exceptions. As a result of the cabinet meeting this morning, it was agreed and that the President would be issuing an executive order per the IATF recommendation to make indoor mask wearing also voluntary all over the Philippines with few exceptions, namely that mask wearing would still be required in public transportation as well as medical transportation and in medical facilities. Mask wearing would also be highly encouraged for unvaccinated individuals, the persons with comorbidities, as well as senior citizens. But generally, the direction of the Marcos administration is to lift the remainder of travel restrictions into the Philippines, and that includes easing of our mask mandates to allow our country to be at par with our ASEAN neighbors who have long liberalized their mask mandates. In addition to this, it was also discussed that the remainder of stringent protocols, such as the requirement of pre-departure testing into the Philippines in the form of an RT-PCR, would also be removed. In addition to this, as far as unvaccinated foreigners are concerned, they would henceforth be allowed entry into the Philippines with only the requirement of presenting an antigen test 24 hours taken before departure, or an option of taking an antigen test upon arrival into the Philippines. In addition to this, it was also agreed that the One Health Pass would be removed as already publicly announced and replaced with an e-arrival platform that introduces great convenience to our travelers and tourists, in a sense that the interface is now more user-friendly. 20 questions that used to be in place have now been reduced to 10, specifically those that are tourism related. And as agreed during the meeting, it was clarified that the filling out of the e-arrival card would not be made mandatory as a prerequisite to boarding. In other words, you can fill out the e-arrival card at your own convenience prior to departure or upon arrival. It was also agreed together with the Department of Health and in their discussions with the BOQ that special lanes would be provided in the airport for those that have not had the opportunity to fill out the e-arrival card. The overarching direction of the Marcos administration is to allow our country to convey an openness and a readiness to the world to receive tourists and investments, so that we would give our fellow Filipinos an opportunity to regain all the livelihood and losses that were incurred during the pandemic. So we are optimistic that with all of these restrictions being lifted by the Marcos administration, that this can only redound to the benefit of the lives of millions of Filipinos that serve to benefit as well from the reinvigoration of the tourism industry.
Questions for Secretary Frasco? Maricel Halili, TV5.
Hi, Sec. Magandang hapon po. Ma'am, clarification. I understand kung ano yung purpose for the EO na gawing voluntary na lang yung wearing of indoor face mask. Pero ano po yung napag-usapan sa cabinet meeting tungkol doon sa XBB and XBC cases? Because I understand it is still a cause of concern considering yung pagiging immune evasive daw ng mga virus na ito.
To be very clear, the matters of mask wearing as well as the new variants was extensively discussed during the IATF meeting that was conducted last week together with our fellow cabinet secretaries. And the DOH had presented its discussion on the new variant. But the overall direction of the IATF, and as discussed earlier during the cabinet meeting, is that first, this is not the very first variant of the pandemic. We have had several other variants in the past, and that is the reason why the DOH has been very aggressive in its vaccination campaign and booster campaign, which are all still ongoing. In the end, we simply cannot go on in a pandemic perspective because we have to give our country an opportunity to thrive while maintaining basic health protocols on one hand and safeguarding and protecting livelihood and the economy on the other. And this is the reason why the new variant is being managed by the DOH while the government is considering ways with which our economy can recover. It is not a mutually exclusive exercise wherein by implementing the easing of these travel restrictions, efforts towards managing the pandemic would cease because it continues to be managed by the DOH. There are two pieces